CEO's Desperation revealed. Inspiring Black Maid's hidden truth transforms an incredible crisis. Ella stood in the sleek office of tech innovators, her hands busily wiping down glass tables while her heart raced with an urgent hope. The sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating her tired face as she thought about her kids and her mom. She worked hard, sacrificing every ounce of energy to make sure they had what they needed. Her life was a whirlwind of cleaning, caring, and dreaming of a brighter future. Little did she know, her unwavering spirit would soon collide with an unexpected figure, the beleaguered CEO of tech innovators, Daniel. Daniel sat heavy-hearted in his high-backed chair, staring out at the city below. The weight of his imploding empire suffocated him. Investors were pulling back. His dreams were crumbling under stagnant ideas and harsh complexities. Each day brought fresh deadlines and mounting debts, a constant storm looming over him. But then he overheard a conversation from the hallway. Ella's voice rang out, passionate and inspiring as she spoke about mentoring local youth. It was a light in his darkness, a beacon that ignited something within him. Intrigued, Daniel found himself approaching her. "I need your help," he said, desperation clinging to every word. "My company. It needs a new direction. You understand the community I've neglected far better than I do." Ella's heart pounded. She hesitated, always cautious of crossing lines. She saw him as just another elite, but there was something earnest in his eyes. Could this be the opportunity to secure a better life for her children? "I'll think about it," she replied, determination woven with a hint of mistrust. As they began collaborating, there was an initial thrill in their shared endeavor. Ella's insights breathed authenticity into Daniel's tarnished brand. But soon misunderstandings crept in. Daniel still saw the world through corporate glasses, while Ella struggled to trust this man who had everything but seemed to understand nothing about struggle. "Just trust me," Daniel urged one day after an emotionally charged meeting. But his words felt hollow, and her resolve grew brittle. Their working relationship became a fragile dance of egos and biases, each step tinged with tension. Just when things seemed to shift, a scandal erupted, shaking the foundations of their endeavor. Daniel's plans misfired, and Ella's community initiatives came under fire. Suddenly it was more than just their futures at stake. It was their hearts, and a critical moment. Ella's voice rose above the chaos. "We can't sell our souls for profit, Daniel. Authenticity matters more than any brand." Daniel felt her determination wash over him like a refreshing tide, but fear clutched at his heart. He finally saw her as more than just an employee but as a powerful leader. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." The silence between them thickened. Questions loomed, heavy in the air. They could each feel the gravitational pull of each other's struggles, his failures, her fight for dignity. Hope flickered on the fragile line they danced upon. Could they turn this crisis into something transformative? Ella stood, unwavering, waiting for Daniel to respond. Would he rise to the challenge and face his demons? Would he see that together they could build something real, something that resonated with their intertwining lives? Only time would tell if they could mend the rift created by their worlds, or if the weight of their realities would crush them both. Ella blinked, feeling the weight of the moment. Daniel, his brow furrowed, had gone silent. The office felt too big, filled with unspoken words and potential futures hanging in the air. Finally he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "What if we could create something that truly matters? Something that connects us all?" She could see the flicker of determination in his eyes. It was refreshing, but could it be genuine? "You talk about connecting with the community, but actions speak louder than words, Daniel. What are you willing to change to truly make this work?" He shifted, leaning forward on his desk, his face earnest. "I'll do whatever it takes. That means taking risks and stepping into places I've avoided. I need your insight, not just as a consultant but as a partner." The word partner echoed in her mind. It was both inviting and terrifying. She took a deep breath and weighed her emotions. Did she trust him enough to dive into this unknown? Okay, she said cautiously. Let us start with a community event. A forum. Gather people. Find out what they want, what they need. Not what you think they need, but what they truly want. Daniel's eyes brightened. I can work with that. He stood up, an urgency now in his stride. We need to reach out to local leaders. I'll set up meetings. We can make this happen. Ella nodded. A mixture of excitement and apprehension churning in her stomach. She couldn't help but feel that they were at a precipice. If they jumped together, they might soar. But if one faltered, they could fall hard. The next week flew by. They met with community leaders, youth activists, and local business owners. Ella found herself becoming the bridge between Daniel and the very people he had overlooked. She felt empowered, but the stakes were growing. At every meeting, she sensed the skepticism in the room. It was palpable. I don't want just another corporate gimmick. One nonprofit director challenged. We've seen that before. The others murmured in agreement, arms crossed defiantly. Daniel stood still, absorbing the weight of their disdain. Ella felt a rush of panic for him, like a wave threatening to engulf them both. Then let us show you we're different, he finally said, his voice steady and sincere. We'll build something real, not just for profit but to uplift our community. We're here to listen and learn. Ella could see the shift in the room, the slow unfolding of possibility. Wasn't that the essence of hope? The power of both of them, an unlikely duo working towards something meaningful together. As they left the meeting, the air felt lighter. Maybe they had turned a corner. But doubt still gnawed at Ella's mind. What if their efforts weren't enough? Do you believe we can actually make a difference? She asked Daniel as they walked back to the office, her voice flat with uncertainty. Believe? I have to, and you should too, he replied, determination bubbling in his tone. But it's going to take time and a lot of hard work. And we need each other's trust. His words struck a chord. Trust was a fragile thread, and she wanted to believe in him, but the past echoed loudly. As they reached the office, Ella took a moment to catch her breath. Would she be able to let go of her fears and truly trust this man? Inside, she felt the stirring of ambition and anxiety. Just then, a notification pinged on her phone. Breaking news about tech innovators. A competitor had just launched a groundbreaking technology. The clock was ticking and they needed results. What now? She asked, looking up at Daniel. Now we dig deeper, he replied, a spark igniting in his eyes once more. Let us put together a plan that sets us apart. Together. Her heart raced. Could this partnership truly blossom against the odds? As they dove headfirst into the storm, one question lingered. Would their combined potential be enough to overcome the brewing chaos? Or would the tides of the corporate world wash them away? Ella sat on the edge of her chair, her fingers dancing over the keyboard as she worked on the proposal. The tension in the air was thick, palpable. They could feel the pressure mounting. They needed to act fast. Time was not on their side. Daniel had his back to her, pacing the office, his thoughts racing. Ella, we need something bold. Something that takes risks. This isn't just about introducing a new product. It's about changing the conversation entirely, he said, glancing back at her. Bold can be dangerous, she replied, her voice steady despite the flutter of anxiety in her chest. What if we upset the community even more? We need their support, not just a flashy tech rollout. True, he conceded, leaning against the wall. But what if we use this moment to ignite real conversation? We should host a workshop series. Teach the community about tech, give them a voice in our project. Ella stopped typing and looked up. The fire in his eyes stirred something within her. She could feel the idea blossoming, a spark of hope. A workshop. We could invite the skeptics to participate. Engage them in the process. That's it, Daniel exclaimed, his enthusiasm spilling over as he moved closer. This could be the bridge we need. Let us gather a diverse group, teachers, business owners, activists. Let us show them we're here to collaborate, not impose. Okay, Ella agreed, feeling the adrenaline surge through her. Who do we reach out to first? Before Daniel could respond, her phone buzzed again. A text from her brother popped up, reminding her of their family reunion this weekend. Guilt twisted in her stomach. She hadn't seen her family in weeks, and the pressure of work had kept her too distracted. Ella? Daniel's voice broke through her thoughts. Are you with me? She nodded, shaking off her distractions. Yes, let us get a list of potential leaders and influencers in the community. We can start making calls right now. Together, they worked late into the night, fueled by pizza and determination. As the hours passed, they began to sketch out their vision. Laura, the tireless nonprofit director they had met earlier, popped to the forefront of Ella's mind. If they could get her on board, they could open doors. Let us reach out to Laura. If she sees our commitment, she might help rally others, Ella suggested. Yes, a coalition, Daniel said, his excitement infectious. We can include everyone, those who felt overlooked, everyone who cares about the community. The next morning they piled into Daniel's car, each armed with a list of fresh connections. Ella's heart raced not just from the pressing need to act, but from the thrill of the unknown. They arrived at Laura's office, and her warm smile greeted them. What brings you two here? She asked, curiosity lighting her features. We want to talk about collaboration, Daniel said earnestly. We're not just launching a new product. We want to build a project that truly uplifts the community. As they laid out their vision, Ella watched Laura's expression shift from skepticism to deep consideration. She could sense it, this was a pivotal moment. But when Laura finally spoke, it wasn't what they had hoped for. This sounds great, but we need to see action. The community is tired of promises. They had hit a wall. Ella felt deflated, anxiety creeping back into her mind. Was this where the wheels would fall off? Let us prove ourselves, Daniel urged, his voice steady. We want to hold that workshop to show that we're different, and we'll come back to you with results. After a tense pause, Laura leaned back in her chair, considering. If you can back that up with real action, I'll promote the workshop. You have a chance to make a difference, but you have to show up ready to work. Ella felt a spark of hope again. But what if they failed to deliver? The stakes were high. Would they be able to turn their plans into something tangible? As they walked out, Daniel turned to her, a fire still burning in his eyes. We can make this happen, right? Together? The question lingered in her mind as they drove away. Could she truly trust him to lead them through? Then a thought struck her, igniting a new curiosity. What would happen if they brought in community members to co-create the workshops? What if they truly brought their voices to the forefront? Now she was buzzing with ideas. Could she trust Daniel enough to get on board with this new direction? As Ella contemplated the challenges ahead, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of something extraordinary, or something devastating. What would their next step be? As Ella and Daniel drove away from Laura's office, the weight of the challenges ahead settled heavily on their shoulders. The intensity of their conversation lingered in the air, sparking an electric energy between them. Ella's thoughts swirled, each idea a flicker that threatened to ignite into a firestorm of change. Let us regroup over coffee, Daniel suggested, breaking the silence that had crept in. We can brainstorm the workshop details and figure out how to engage the community. Ella nodded, grateful for the chance to step back and think. They pulled into a cafe bustling with morning energy. The scent of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the sound of chatter, filling her with a sense of possibility. Once seated, they spread out their notes on the small table. Ella closed her eyes for a moment, wishing she could isolate herself from the noise and pressure. They needed a plan, a solid strategy to translate their bold intentions into real actions. Okay, Daniel said, leaning forward, his voice steady. What do you envision when you think about these workshops? I see them as a series of open discussions, Ella replied, her confidence growing. Workshops where people can share their concerns and ideas. We can create an actual dialogue instead of just talking at them. Exactly, he enthused, and we need to frame it around technology's benefits. Show how it can help businesses grow, improve education, and offer job training. Make it relatable. Ella's heart raced. She could already picture community members engaging with their proposals, sharing stories, and seeing real potential in technology. And we can showcase success stories from local businesses using tech in innovative ways, she added. Daniel scribbled notes, his mind racing with possibilities. What if we invite guest speakers who can inspire? People who have made a real difference using tech in their communities? Yes. And we need to make it interactive, she exclaimed, a smile creeping onto her face. Utilize local spaces, maybe even outdoor settings when the weather is nice. It should feel approachable, not corporate. The more they talked, the clearer her vision became. Together they began drafting outlines for the workshops, focusing on inclusivity and exploration. Excitement blended with fear. Could they truly pull this off? As they wrapped up their planning, the cafe's hustle faded into the background. Ella felt a persistent knot in her stomach as reminders of her family reunion tugged at her conscience. She had promised her brother she would be there. Daniel, she hesitated. Yeah. He looked up, sensing her unease. I have this family thing this weekend. I don't want to bail on them, she said slowly. Guilt churned within her. Her family had always been her anchor, but work felt equally pressing. He nodded, his expression serious. I understand, but if we're going to make an impact, it takes time and dedication. You're right. She sighed, torn. I just wish I didn't have to choose. Can I do both? Why not? He suggested, his eyes sparkling with creativity. You can take what you learn over the weekend and bring it back here. Family conversations usually open up new perspectives. And we can keep knocking on doors while you're gone. Just make sure to take a note of what resonates with them. The thought lifted some of her burden. Okay, I can do that. They wrapped up their session, both invigorated by newfound energy. As they stood to leave, Ella felt a weight slip off her chest. They had a direction. But as she walked out, her phone buzzed again, this time a news alert that flashed on her screen. A community meeting was set for next week, with discussions on the very changes they were trying to introduce. Her heart sank. What if they showed up unprepared? Would they miss their chance? Daniel, she called out, a wave of anxiety overtaking her. What if they already have a plan in motion? Can we really compete with them? Daniel turned back, a determined glimmer in his eyes. Then we adapt. We'll find out what they're proposing and make sure our workshops complement their efforts. No way are we backing down now. His resolve filled her with warmth, but the uncertainty still loomed large. Would they be ready in time to make their mark? As they headed back, Ella couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was just beginning, and the stakes were about to get even higher. Would they truly be able to unite the community around their vision? Ella stared out of the cafe window as they walked back to the car. The world felt alive and daunting, each passing face a reminder of the community she aimed to connect with. She tightened her grip on her notebook, a mix of excitement and dread bubbling inside her. Are you okay? Daniel's voice broke through her thoughts. He studied her, concern etched on his face. Just thinking about that meeting, she said, forcing a smile. I feel like we have so much to prove. What if they don't take us seriously? Daniel put his hand on her shoulder, steady and reassuring. They will. When they see our passion and the way we connect with the community, they'll listen. Trust me. You're right. She drew a deep breath. I just need to focus. The rest of the car ride was marked by a comfortable silence. Ella's thoughts swirled back to her brother's reunion. She wanted to be present for her family, to absorb their stories and laughter. They were her backbone, a reminder of where she came from. Hey, do you think we could pitch our ideas at the reunion? We might get insights from family members that we wouldn't have thought of, she suggested suddenly. Daniel raised an eyebrow, intrigued. That's actually a brilliant idea. Family can be an incredible source of wisdom, especially if they have diverse backgrounds. What's your brother's involvement in tech? He's in marketing, she said, her eyes lighting up with remembrance. He's always worked with tech brands pitching strategies. Maybe he can help us frame our ideas better. An unexpected wave of happiness washed over her. She could almost hear her family joking and offering input, ready to rally around her. Bringing them into this felt like weaving connection into the fabric of their community project. As they neared Ella's house, a cloud darkened her mood. Would they really have enough time to gather feedback and prepare for the meeting? Memories of her childhood home flooded her thoughts, the warmth of family dinners, and the wisdom shared over the table piled high with food. It was the same sense of belonging that she needed to tap into now. Let us make a list of what to discuss at the reunion, Daniel encouraged as they parked. We want to make it as productive as possible. Right, she agreed. They began listing questions and topics to bring to her family. How to engage the younger crowd, ideas for guest speakers, anything they could offer that would enrich the workshop experience. They worked until they had a solid outline. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm glow as Ella felt the weight of anxiety ease, replaced with a sense of purpose. This wasn't just about her and Daniel. It was about the community building around them. Just before she stepped out of the car, Daniel hesitated. Ella, take moments for yourself too this weekend. It's easy to get lost in the process. She nodded, knowing he was right. But as she stepped into her home, the scent of her mother's famous pot roast wafted through the air, drowning her in nostalgia. Would it even be possible to balance everything she wanted to accomplish with her family time? Suddenly a thought struck her. What if I record some of our discussions? I could get the community feedback but still feel connected to my family. Daniel's face brightened. That's perfect. You can share that with everyone. It'll keep you engaged with both sides. Ella smiled wide, feeling renewed energy course through her veins. She could keep her dream alive while cherishing her roots. As they wrapped up their plans, a notification pinged on her phone, a message from her brother reminding everyone of their family gathering's special surprise guest. Panic bubbled in her stomach. What if it's something that diverts attention from what we're trying to build? Daniel leaned in, his expression serious yet encouraging. Just be open to whatever happens. Sometimes unexpected turns lead to the best outcomes. She whirled back to him, uncertainty battling with hope. What if this surprise guest has a connection to the tech initiative? Daniel grinned. Then it could change everything. Ella stepped inside her house, anticipation thrumming in her chest. This weekend would be pivotal. She had a feeling that the answers along with the essence of what they were creating were waiting just around the corner. Would she be ready to embrace whatever truth unfolded at the reunion? The room buzzed with laughter and familiar voices as Ella entered. The warmth enveloped her like a comforting blanket, instantly easing the tension she felt earlier. Her mom was in the kitchen, her apron dusted with flour, cooking up a storm. The smell of roasted vegetables and her dad's grilling wafted through the air, igniting memories of summers spent laughing on the porch. Ella, you made it! Her brother Jake called from the living room, motioning her over. He was surrounded by a few cousins, all animatedly discussing the upcoming family reunion plans. She took a moment to soak it all in, the joy, the camaraderie. Hey guys! Ella grinned, trying to immerse herself in their excitement. But there was still a flutter of anxiety in her belly, urging her to dive right into work. She sidled up next to Jake, who had his laptop open. Are you ready for the surprise guest? She asked, attempting to gauge his mood. He chuckled, eyes sparkling with mischief. You know I can't spill the beans, sis. But trust me, it's going to blow everyone away. As they sat together, Ella felt the need to share her thoughts but hesitated. She didn't want to complicate their joyous gathering with her pressing concerns. Instead, she leaned back and let the laughter roll over her, the sounds of family bonding pulling her out of her head. Ella's mother called the family to the table, and they all gathered around, setting up for what Ella knew would be yet another feast. As they settled in, Ella took her place among her loved ones and watched them exchange stories. There was something magical in those moments. Every laugh, every shared memory built a thread that tied her to her roots. But in her heart, the anticipation of the meeting loomed over her, like a storm waiting to break. How could they harness the energy from the reunion into something productive? Once dinner wrapped up and the last bite of dessert had been savored, the family turned their attention to Ella. What's that notebook for? Her Aunt Marie asked, pointing at the worn cover. Ella's heart raced. Should she open up? It's for a project Daniel and I are working on. It's about community engagement, she finally replied, the words feeling like a small tether to her initiative. Community? I love it. We need more of that, especially these days, her Uncle Tom chimed in. What's the angle? Ella took a deep breath. We want to hold a workshop, focusing on tech and how it affects our daily lives. I thought family might have great ideas to add to the conversation. Sounds like a solid plan. Let us throw some ideas around, her cousin Sarah said enthusiastically. Instantly, the room filled with brainstorming and lively chatter, each voice spilling out thoughts, memories of the tech transformations they had witnessed, and how those changes had shaped their lives. Ella felt the pressure lift, the urgency morphing into a shared excitement. This was precisely what she had hoped for, a collaborative effort from the roots that nourished her. Just then the door swung open, and with it came an unexpected arrival. A tall figure stepped inside, radiating a confident energy. Ella's stomach twisted with curiosity. Was this the surprise guest her brother had hinted at? The room quieted, eyes turning toward the entrance. I hope I'm not too late, the stranger said. a smile spreading wide across their face. There's so much I want to discuss with you all. Ella's mind raced. Who was this person and how were they connected to everything? A sense of destiny seemed to hang in the air. Could this surprise guest potentially be the missing piece that linked her dreams to reality? The tension in the room thickened as everyone awaited an introduction, excitement and anxiety mixing into an unshakable feeling of possibility. Would this encounter alter the course of their family gathering, bringing unexpected inspiration and insight? Ella's heart pounded as the stranger stepped forward, ready to change everything. The stranger stepped fully into the room, revealing themselves at last. Tall and poised, they wore a crisp blazer and had an air of authority about them. The early evening light caught their features, making them both striking and approachable. Ella's heart raced with a mix of hope and dread. Who were they and why were they here? Hi everyone, I'm Jordan, the newcomer said, their voice smooth and confident. I know Jake has been keeping this under wraps, but I've come to help with your community project. I believe it could really make a difference. A murmur of surprise rippled through the gathering. Ella felt a jolt of excitement but suppressed it, unsure of what to think. How did Jordan already know about the initiative? Maybe Jake had mentioned it during their conversations, but the layers of connection felt so tightly woven, she wasn't sure how the stranger fit into the tapestry. Jordan continued, I run a small tech startup focused on community engagement through digital platforms. We aim to bridge gaps and bring people together. When Jake told me about your plans, I knew I had to be here. Ella's breath caught. It was one thing to hear ideas tossed around among family. It was another to have an industry leader walk in, eager to contribute. You want to help us? She managed to stammer, still processing the whirlwind of information. Absolutely. I see so much potential here. Family gatherings like this are where real conversations start. Jordan's smile was infectious, and suddenly Ella's anxiety felt misplaced. The weight they had all carried, the responsibility of making an impact, transformed into an exhilarating weightlessness. Her family's whispers of curiosity filled the room as Jake leaned in, looking more excited than ever. This is great news. Jordan has insights that could really elevate our discussion, he said, gazing at Ella like he had just revealed a secret weapon. Fingers tapping her notebook, Ella's thoughts surged. What kind of ideas do you have? She asked, the urgency creeping back into her thoughts but now combined with hope. We could develop a series of virtual workshops, bringing in not just family members but the broader community. We can utilize tech tools to gather stories, ideas, and experiences. Every voice matters and tech can help amplify those voices, Jordan explained, their energy sparking something deep within Ella as their gaze met. Ella felt a connection like they were both dancing towards the same rhythm. Jake's laughter echoed around the table, dragging others into the infectious excitement. Everybody began brainstorming once again, but this time with a fresh vigor. Ella's heart swelled. This wasn't just about technology. It was also about the people, her family, her community, the strength that lay within them. Then as ideas flew, Ella's gaze drifted to Jordan again. They were so passionate, but there was something deeper behind their eyes, a flicker of something unspoken. Wow, I can't believe this is happening, Sarah said, interrupting Ella's thoughts. What a way to start our project. The room buzzed again, but Ella felt her focus shift to Jordan. What inspired you to connect with us? She found herself asking, unable to shake her curiosity. Jordan hesitated, and for a brief moment, the bright confidence dimmed. There was something haunting behind their smile, something Ella sensed needed to be shared. Sometimes we all face challenges that push us to find purpose again. They finally replied, a flicker of vulnerability in their voice. Ella's heart ached with understanding. What was their story? How did they find themselves here? As she watched Jordan, Ella felt a familiar flame ignite an even stronger urge to dig deeper, not just into their project but into the life stories entwined with it. And as conversations erupted around her, one thing was clear. Ella's journey had just taken a fascinating turn, weaving in threads that transcended her family and reached into the unknown. What would she uncover about Jordan, and how might their past intertwine with the path she was beginning to carve? The air hummed with new possibilities, and she could hardly wait to unravel the truths hidden behind those confident eyes. Ella's mind buzzed with questions. She glanced back at the whirlwind of excitement around the table, but felt her focus narrow. Jordan's presence was magnetic, and each moment spent watching them sparked more curiosity. What experiences lay behind those compelling eyes? Can you tell us more about your startup? Sarah asked, her voice bright with enthusiasm. The question drew everyone's attention back to Jordan, who brightened at the chance to share. Of course, Jordan leaned forward, their hands animated as they spoke. Our goal is to create platforms where people feel safe to share their stories. We believe that everyone has something meaningful to contribute, and we want those voices to be heard, each one unique, but collectively powerful. The rhythm of conversation picked up again, but Ella was still lost in her thoughts. As she absent-mindedly doodled in her notebook, she felt an overwhelming desire to understand Jordan, not just as a facilitator for their project, but as a person with a deeper story. Jake hopped from idea to idea, his energy infectious. We could host a virtual open mic, he exclaimed. With everything you're suggesting, we could spotlight different community members each week. The group was quickly swept up in enthusiasm, yet Ella felt a pang of uncertainty. What if Jordan was hiding something? She recalled the flicker of vulnerability she had glimpsed earlier. Can we take a moment? Ella finally said, her voice louder than she intended. All eyes turned to her. I think we should hear Jordan's story first, she continued, eyes fixed on the newcomer. It might inspire us even more. A palpable hush fell over the room. The laughter faded, replaced by a thick anticipation. Ella held her breath, nearly regretting her request, but Jordan smiled, a warmth returning. Sure, they said softly, looking around at the eager faces. I guess it's important to connect on a deeper level. Their tone shifted, and for the first time, the confident facade melted into something more honest. I started this journey a couple of years ago, after a personal loss. I had been volunteering at a local shelter, and the stories I encountered there opened my eyes. Families struggling just to get by. I realized then how little connection existed between people who had everything and those who had nothing. I wanted to change that. Jordan's voice trembled slightly as they spoke, bringing a hush over the room. Ella could see the memories battling beneath the surface. But it became about more than just helping others. It turned into a mission for me to redefine my own purpose. Everyone was visibly moved by Jordan's honesty, tears shimmering in Sarah's eyes, while Ella felt a new urgency growing inside her. That's an incredible story, she said, hoping to encourage them further. Jordan continued, appearing more at ease. Some days are hard. There are moments I feel overwhelmed by what I can't change. But then I remind myself how powerful connection can be. When we come together as a community, we can make a real difference. Their gaze hovered over the group, spilling sincerity. The silence that followed was heavy but charged with possibility. Ella felt a profound sense of clarity. They weren't just here to help. They were all here to heal, each in their own way. As the room filled with murmurs of admiration for Jordan's journey, Ella felt the flame inside her burn brighter. Suddenly, the community project felt more vital than ever. This wasn't just family and tech. It was about transformation. What could we achieve together? She whispered to herself, inspiration crawling through her veins. Jake's voice interrupted her thoughts. Let us start laying out a plan, he suggested, breaking the tension and reigniting the ideas. The ideas flew around the room once more, but Ella could not shake Jordan's experience from her mind. What if their connection could steer them into uncharted territory, away from just community engagement and into something far more profound? Meanwhile, she noticed something shift in Jordan's expression. A flicker of hope mingled with a shadow of doubt. Was it fear? Could her questions lead to a deeper understanding of both their mission and their individual burdens? And as the first steps were sketched out on paper, Ella realized her curiosity had led her to a crossroads, a decision point that could change everything. What more lay hidden behind Jordan's past? And how deeply could their stories intertwine? Each moment pulsing with energy made it clear. This was just the beginning. Ella leaned back in her chair, her mind racing as the room pulsed with renewed energy. Ideas bounced off the walls, each one brighter and more ambitious than the last. But amidst the excitement, Jordan's story lingered, resonating in her heart. The revelation of their vulnerability held her captive, igniting a path within her. Okay, everyone. Let us focus, Jake called, clapping his hands together. What do we need to make this happen? Ella watched as the others nodded, not missing a beat. Ideas flourished: workshops, mentorship programs, digital forums, but her gaze drifted back to Jordan. They were immersed in the discussion, a whirlwind of enthusiasm about reaching out to others. But beneath that excitement, she noticed a shadow that flickered just below the surface, a weight they carried that perhaps they hadn't fully shared yet. She inhaled deeply, feeling a weight of her own pressing against her chest. "Jordan, can we circle back to your story?" she said, her voice steady despite the tremor of uncertainty she felt. "You talked about connection and healing, and it's clear you value those things deeply. What drives that for you?" The room went quiet again, eyes darting between Ella and Jordan, curiosity brightening the air. She could sense the tension, that delicate moment where vulnerability met a calling. Jordan blinked slowly, their hands resting in their lap for just a moment too long. "Honestly," Jordan began, their voice soft yet full, "after my loss I was in a dark place. I didn't know how to engage with my emotions. It felt like I was lost at sea. But volunteering, hearing those stories, something inside me flickered back to life. I realized if I could give even a small part of myself to help someone else, then maybe I could find my way back." Ella felt her heart thump loudly. It was raw and honest. She admired that Jordan was willing to share. It was the kind of openness that could inspire real change. She wanted to dig deeper, to truly understand them. What happened next? Jordan shrugged and smiled faintly. "Well, I took the leap. I quit my job, launched the startup, and every day since has been a choice. Sometimes it's frustrating. I just want to help, and there are days I feel like I'm drowning in numbers, stats, pressure to succeed." The smile faded, replaced with a flicker of that earlier doubt. "Can you really make a difference? Or are we just whispering into the void?" Ella's heart ached for them. She understood that feeling of solitude, an isolation that could creep in even amongst friends. It prompted her to voice something that had been brewing. "But don't you think the mere act of trying is powerful? We're all figuring things out, right? If we're brave enough to share our journeys, then maybe we're already making a difference." The room quieted, and Ella felt the weight of Jordan's gaze. With their unguarded eyes searching hers, something shifted, a reflection of understanding. "Maybe you're right," they mused, a small spark of hope igniting once more. Just then Sarah chimed in, "What if each story we gather is a step towards rebuilding those connections? What if we share what we learn from Jordan and extend that platform even further?" The murmurs of agreement swelled, and Ella felt a rush of excitement. They were all in this together, ready to unearth and explore their own narratives. It was a shared mission, one built on vulnerability, resilience, and a mutual desire for connection. As the team dove into details, bouncing ideas around to develop a cohesive plan, Ella caught a glimpse of Jordan, still mulling over the exchange. Was it curiosity or something deeper that reflected back at her? She couldn't help but wonder. "Are you ready to co-create something remarkable?" she asked Jordan, her voice steady, a firm invitation dangling in the air. Jordan hesitated, their smile tempered with uncertainty. "I have to be honest. Sometimes I worry if I'm equipped to lead this." In that moment, Ella realized this journey wasn't just about the group building a project. It was about uncovering layers of trust in each other and in themselves. She was convinced of it, and that unwavering belief sent a pulse of urgency through her. What would it take to help Jordan see their potential? And as Ella scanned the group, a new thought bloomed. How deeply could they all connect through their stories while wrestling with their fears? The questions hung in the air. The room buzzed with potential, and Ella felt that this collaboration could lead them all to confront their own battles. But would she be brave enough to uncover the truth of her own struggles alongside them? The discussion swirled on, but one thought persisted: an undeniable truth was just around the corner. And perhaps, just perhaps, Jordan held the key to a revelation that would change everything. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue across the room, Ella felt something shift in the air. Laughter and animated conversations continued swirling around her, but she could sense an undercurrent of connection forming between her family and Jordan. They were all allies now, united by shared stories and aspirations. "Okay, let us take a moment to pull it all together," Jake called out, his voice ringing with determination. "What's our next step?" Ella saw the excitement sparkle in her cousin's eyes as he glanced at Jordan, then back at their family. "I think we should draft a mission statement for the workshop series. Something that encapsulates our goal of community engagement through tech. She nodded, feeling the familiar flutter of urgency. Yes, we need something authentic, something that resonates with everyone's experiences, she added, her heart racing with possibility. Jordan leaned in, enthusiasm brightening their features. Let us make it about forging connections. It can be our guiding light, ensuring that everyone feels heard and valued. As they brainstormed, ideas flowed freely, each word echoing with the spirit of collaboration. Bridging the gap between technology and community emerged as a central theme. Ella felt a warmth spread through her. This was more than a project. It was a movement that could uplift them all. Suddenly, a quiet pause fell over the room as Jordan shared their vision for the workshops, not just educational, but genuinely community-building experiences. We should invite local creators to share their journeys, and ensure they spotlight those who've benefited from tech initiatives, they suggested earnestly. Ella could see the familiar twinkle of hope reflected in her family's eyes. This was it. This was the essence of togetherness they had all longed for. They were no longer just talking about ideas, they were stepping into a new reality. And what if we host a final showcase event, Jake added, where the community can come together and share their own stories. Ella felt her heart swell. That's perfect. We could create a platform for everyone to showcase tech projects inspired by the workshops. Jordan's smile grew wider. Now you're capturing the true spirit of this. Together we can foster not just a conversation, but a movement that resonates deep within. As they outlined their ideals into a cohesive plan, Ella's thoughts turned inward. She realized that the fear she once harbored was fading, replaced with an unwavering conviction that they could truly make a difference. Can we do it? She suddenly asked, her voice trembling with excitement and fear. Jordan's gaze met hers, filled with unspoken understanding. We can. But it starts with us believing in one another. We've all faced struggles, but let us use those as stepping stones to inspire others. Ella's heart raced with admiration. The way Jordan spoke ignited a fire within her. Would they all hold on to this faith in each other, even when challenges arose? Just then the atmosphere shifted as the door swung open, revealing Ella's mother with snacks. The aroma filled the air, a reminder of home. Her mom's smile radiated warmth. How's the planning going, everyone? Before Ella responded, her family lit up, sharing snippets of their ideas. Laughter and voices rose, blending seamlessly, a melody of excitement and aspiration. As her eyes danced across the room, she couldn't help but feel grateful. In that moment, surrounded by the faces of love and support, she knew they had woven something special together. Not only were they creating a workshop series but becoming champions of connection, embracing each other as stories. But then reality struck. Would they be able to maintain their drive? As they broke for a celebratory toast, Ella seized the moment. Let us promise to support each other as we embark on this journey together. We owe it to ourselves and the community. Nods of agreement surrounded her, and she felt an overwhelming surge of hope. As the night unfolded, Ella reveled in her family's chatter, her heart full not only of excitement but also determination. Together with Daniel and Jordan, they were not only putting their ideas into action, they were forming an unbreakable bond, ready to face upcoming challenges. Before they parted ways, the promises were made. Each would hold the other accountable, support one another, and celebrate every success, big or small. The darkness of uncertainty and trepidation faded. A radiant light of purpose shone before their eyes. They were ready to transform their challenges into great opportunities, one story at a time. And as Ella left the gathering that night, her heart felt lighter than ever. This wasn't just a project. It was a movement, and she was at its center. Now every moment felt like a stepping stone towards something marvelous. With everything finally aligning, they stood on the brink of change, ready to rise together and light up their community. In her heart, she carried a message that resonated. Deep connection was at the heart of every transformation. And as she stepped outside, the stars sparkled above, as if promising that they could achieve the extraordinary. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for more incredible stories and transformations. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread the word. We want to hear your reactions and feelings about this ending, so comment below. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together we can inspire change.